Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome to the September 27th, 2023 Zoning Board of Adjustments meeting. Our next meeting will be October 25th, 2023, here in the Matthew Thornton Room at 6:30 p.m. If everyone could please stand for the Pledge of Allegiance.
Allegiance to the flag of the United States of America, and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
And Brian, if you would please read in the preamble.
Good evening. We will proceed with the petitions in order that they are listed on the agenda unless the board deems it appropriate to take the petition out of order. State law and local ordinances set out the criteria that must be met in order for the board to grant a request. The minimum requirements are outlined on the form provided by the Community Development Office, and the petitioner should proceed with this format to provide adequate justification for the board to grant such request. The chair will open the meeting to hear today's testimony, either for or against the request. All discussion will be between the speaker and the board. Please be respectful of all in the interest of time. Refrain from repeating any previous testimony. No new documentation will be accepted by the board for consideration this evening, but the board reserves the right to ask for additional testimony at any time. After the hearing the facts from all parties regarding the petition, the chairman will close the public hearing and the board will deliberate and vote on the request before moving on to the next petition. Please turn off all cell phones, and would those who plan to testify please stand to be sworn in.
For anyone that may be speaking tonight, if you could please raise your right hand. You swear to tell the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth? All right, thank you. All right, and before we get started, I want to welcome you, Wolfram Von Schoen, as the newest member of our zoning board. And I would like to have you sit in for Ben for tonight. Thank you. So I'm going to be reordering and moving the request for rehearing up to the first thing that we discuss. This will not be a public discussion, so this is only amongst the board. But I wanted to move this forward so that we could have a conversation about it. Specifically, let me grab that. All right, so the request for rehearing is case ZBA 2023-27, which we heard last month for the John Flatley Company, which was putting up a sign. And although I do not believe we're going to have a different outcome by rehearing this, the petitioner does, or I should say the appellant brings up a valid point, that they felt that I did not grant the appropriate time to rebuttal comments from the petitioner. So for that reason, I'm in favor of rehearing it. However, before we have any type of a vote on the rehearing, just as a reminder, what we're talking about is whether or not I gave the abutters ample time to properly discuss after the petitioner discussed the discussion that we were having. So
We're not talking about the validity or anything about it, only whether we followed the proper procedure.
correct. And for that reason, if this is granted, the rehearing will be a condensed rehearing, both on the part of the petitioners and the abutters. One of the other points in here is that the chairman does have the discretion to limit the time of speakers either for or against the petition. I will be enacting that during this hearing. So if you did not see last month's meeting, you are free to abstain. But the topic that we are going to be voting on is whether or not we gave, or I gave, abutters ample time to, or not ample time, the ability to rebut comments that were made by the petitioner. So, that being said,
I'll move we grant the rehearing request.
all right,
A second.
all right. All in favor?
Wait, do we need renotice?
They would have to, I believe they would have to submit a new, it says, should the board grant the request for rehearing, the board may choose to limit the scope of the rehearing issued raised. Should the board, oh, sorry. I'm so sorry. I'm trying to read where it said. Under RSA this, I thought Robert had put it in there. I believe they have to submit a new application just for formalization. I'm not 100% sure, actually.
I believe that's true, but I also think we need to do renotice to abutters
Yeah, so I would
Yes,
put that in
okay.
there.
with renotice.
Okay. With renotice. So motion made by Lynn, seconded by Brian. All in favor?
Aye.
All right. All oppose? All abstain? So 4-0-1. All right. So we will rehear that at the next meeting. The next petition is Lobster Boat Restaurant petitioner and Janet Johnston and John Thistle owners. Variance under section 17.05.31 of the zoning ordinance to permit a mural to not be categorized as a sign defined in the zoning ordinance. The parcel is located at 453 Daniel Webster Highway in the C1 Limited Commercial Aquifer Conservation Elderly Housing Overlay and Town Center Overlay Districts, Tax Map 5D-4, Lot 71, Case ZBA 2023-28. Do we have a petitioner? Oh, please come forward, sorry. And if you could just make sure the microphone is lit bright green. You could sit. And then just your name and where, okay.
Janet, I don't think your mic is on. Is it bright green?
Janet Johnston.
Much better.
All right, thank you. And do you have if you could just walk us through what you're looking to do and then just go through the 5 criteria for the variance?
Okay, so full disclosure, when I filled out the application, I didn't fully understand the ordinance. I do now. I understand that it is technically a sign. So what I'm asking for is an exception. We ran a contest for all Merrimack students last spring, and with a $500 cash reward. We ran it on Facebook, had people on Facebook vote. It was anonymous. Shane and Greg, one of the school teachers, helped us with this. So we didn't have to choose, thankfully, because they were all really great. A young woman, Molly Maynard, won. And we proceeded to talk with mural artist Eric Escobar and 2 other people who were willing to work with the children to allow them to paint with them, with the professional mural artist. And a friend of mine texted me a picture of the North Conway donut shop. At that time, I realized, whoa, I didn't realize what I was getting myself into when I started the project. I contacted the Community Development Department, and they advised me that I could fill out a variance and try to at least get an exception for the mural to be painted. So here we are today.
Excellent, thank you.
Okay, so a variance and exception are 2 different things.
Yeah.
Right, we were talking about a variance.
Okay.
Sorry.
No, that's okay.
Okay.
Right.
So if you could just read through the 5 variance criteria.
My responses?
Yes.
Or,
Um,
okay.
Yeah, so granting the variance would not be contrary to the public and just because, and then the reason
Okay,
for that.
because the mural does not affect the common good of any person or persons in town or the flow of business.
Okay.
And I can elaborate if you want, but
I think that's
okay.
So if you want to just read in the question.
Number 2, I did say in the application, this is not a sign. In my opinion, it was not a sign. I do understand now that the town sees it as a sign, but my answer was, this is not a sign. There is no lettering or advertising anywhere on the artwork, which I thought was the criteria to, for a sign. Number 3, it honors the winner of a contest that was held amongst the students of the Merrimack school system and will be painted by them in conjunction with a professional mural artist. This project was designed to enrich community spirit and bring joy to the town. That was the objective. Number 4, the mural will demonstrate what a wonderful sense of community and teen spirit we have in Merrimack. It will beautify the area and add to the landmark that is the Lobster Boat Restaurant. And to that effect, I felt it would improve property values. Number 5, although we are a business in town, the artwork that will be painted on the backside of the building is in no way a sign, as there is no advertisement or business name anywhere within the design. Full disclosure, we would like to invite all of the students who submitted entries to the mural contest to work with the mural artist, and we would like to ask them to put their signatures on the piece once it is completed, if that is allowed. And that would be the only text we would like to include on the mural.
All right, thank you very much.
Okay.
Any questions from the board? All right. So I would agree with you. When I first saw this petition, I thought this is kind of silly. If it's on advertisement, how is it a
Kind
sign?
of bold, right? Like, after I realized, I was like, oh my goodness, I need to.
You know, some of our
to
ordinances
backtrack here.
are like that though. So what I'll go ahead and do is open this up to the public. Is there anyone looking to speak in favor of this particular petition? All right. If you could please come down, sir, or actually you can use the microphone. Just state,
I got a little paperwork here. I need to sit by the desk.
okay.
I didn't know you were here for us. All right.
I'm here for you.
Thank you.
Can you hear me now?
Yes.
My name's Bill Behrens, and I've been in town for 38 years, and I am a doodler. Basically, I've known the lobster boat when there was a real antique retired lobster boat on top of the building down there. I'd like to start with just doing a definition of what a sign is from the Apple Computer Dictionary that I have. And it's a noun. A sign is a noun. It's an object, quality, or an event whose presence or occurrence indicates a probable presence or an occurrence of something else. All right, that's what a sign is. It's also a gesture, an action which convey an information like instructions. She gave us the thumbs up. That's a sign, okay? And there's another notice for a sign. A notice of public display giving information or instructions in a written or symbolic form, something like a stop sign, okay? And last is like in mathematics, or positive or negative, of a quantity. That's another definition of a sign. One for a mural is a painting or a work of art executed directly on a wall. And that's what Janet is asking for, is a mural painted on a wall. Okay. I think the Lobster Boat's been here for many years and is a valuable landmark in our community. It's been the best seafood restaurant in southern New Hampshire many times over. And that also helps bring Merrimack visitors to the community and help discover other businesses that are in the area here. They've also provided excellent opportunity for the young teenage youths that are in our village and introducing them to the working in food service and hospitality industry. Their contribution to the town can't really be measured in dollars and cents, but their enrichment to the spirit and joy of the items here is what we want to bring to the town with a decorative mural on the side of their business. This young Merrimack youth that designed this mural, her talent needs to be displayed and enjoyed by all the rest of residents and visitors in the community. So basically, I'll close with recommending the zoning board find favorable decision for Janet's request in the variance to paint this mural on the side of their business and waive the fee to have this work of art done so everybody can enjoy it and display this talent from the young Merrimack youth that did this. I'd like to submit to the town this was a newspaper article that was in the Union Leader this morning, has a picture of the mural that was put on there, and also the article that was written by the Union Leader. So I'd like to submit that to the minutes, as well as the information on what a sign and a mural is, if the board is willing to accept that from me. And I'll close with just saying that I'd like for you to grant the variance for Janet and her partner John, so that they can beautify the area there, and request grant their requests that they have. And I'll end that by saying thank you very much for your time.
All right. Thank you so much. We actually can't take any materials on the night of the hearing, but I do appreciate it. Absolutely.
Okay, well, this is a picture that was in the Union Leader this morning, in today's paper, of what the mural was going to look like. So, if you got a copy of the Union Leader, you can see what the article said in there. All right.
All right. Thank you so much.
You can have that,
Thank you.
and you can have this.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Is there anyone else looking to speak in favor of this petition? Oh, Chuck?
I certainly rise in support of everything that Joe conveyed to the zoning board. And beyond that, this is precisely what we are looking for in our community today that we claim is absent. a sense of pride, a sense of ownership, a sense of place, and a sense of community, particularly with young people. I happen to be an officer of the school district, and I cannot overstate how important it is to begin when students are young to invite them to embrace a community outside their particular regular focus of life. And of course, we advance community service in the school district. And certainly many of our students have had very important jobs provided by the business. It is a landmark. It's a little different, I think, than maybe the same proposal for a transportation center. It displays a sense of community. And I'd like to add that it does have a precedent. The painting on the outside of the Homestead restaurant was also done within the school district as a competitive project
I didn't know.
and adopted and painted on the silo outside. And so, we constantly rediscover the tools at hand, and that's a wonderful thing. And I'd simply close in saying that, I don't know, Joe looks like he might go back farther than me. I don't know. 38 years. 38 years. Well, do you remember when we had a student competition to design the town logo?
Basically, yeah.
Yeah, that was a student-oriented art project that the town adopted as its sense of self. And I would suggest that there would be true justice in adopting this proposal as a sense of community.
Thank you.
All right, thank you. And I also have a letter here from Bill Olson, the Chief Educational Officer of Merrimack School District. It just says, "Good afternoon. I've been informed that at tomorrow night's Zoning Board of Appeals meeting, the board will be considering a variance request by the owner of the Lobster Boat Restaurant. The variance request is to allow a mural designed by a Merrimack High School student to be painted on an exterior wall of the restaurant. Email is to express my support for this project and respectfully request that your granting of the variance. Our students were very enthusiastic about the mural contest and are eager to see the winning graphic displayed at the restaurant. I thank you for your consideration of the waiver request." With that, I also have to ask, is there anyone in the audience that's, sorry, Chuck.
I'd simply like to also give you some counsel in that should this variance be approved by this board, the school district now has a director of extended learning opportunities on board. And I would highly recommend that you contact him and perhaps create an extended learning opportunity for the students that were involved. It requires a certain adherence to curriculum frameworks, but there's no reason why that can't be met. And they can actually earn credits for graduation.
Okay, thank you.
All right, thank you. Is there anyone that's looking to speak against this petition? All right, I'll go ahead and close the public portion. Do I hear a motion?
I'd like to make a motion that the board finds the petitioner's responses to the statutory criteria are sufficient, provided each criterion is met, and the board adopts the petitioner's responses as the board's findings of fact, and further to grant the variance under section 17.05.31 of the zoning ordinance to permit a mural to not be categorized as a sign as defined in the zoning ordinance.
I'll second that.
All right, motion made by Patrick, seconded by Lynn. All in
And
favor?
I would make one comment, please.
Yes.
I respect community development and all the work that they do, but in this instance, I disagree with them. I've gone through the ordinance. I don't believe this is a sign. But if they want to treat it as one, then I'm happy to grant the variance so that we can get this done.
Agreed. All in favor? All right, 5-0-0. Motion passes. If you proceed forward within the next 30 days, you do so at your own risk. Somebody could appeal this. although very unlikely.
I almost clapped.
You can clap.
But otherwise, good luck.
Thank you so much. We're looking into the spring, possibly because of weather
Yeah.
and getting, you know, been a
You don't
bit
wanna
of a
do it now.
delay. Yeah, springtime, but thank you all so much. Thank you.
Have a good evening.
Thank you.
Thank you. All right, next we have Carrie Pillsbury, variance or petitioner owner variance under section 3.02 of the zoning ordinance to permit construction of a two-car garage 7 feet from the side property line, whereas 20 feet is required. Parcel is located at 269 Babuzik Lake Road in the R3 Residential by Soils District. Tax map 6A, lot 18-1, case ZBA 2023-29.
How you doing? Good evening. My name is Brian Caldwell. I'm the husband of Carrie Pillsbury.
Okay.
We're asking for a variance of the left side of the property to construct a 24 by 28 two-car garage, which would be on the right side of the driveway. The variance is just to ensure that we're not, if we run into any issues, we can move it over a couple feet if needed based off of the construction site. One, granting this variance will not alter the essential characteristics of the neighborhood, threaten any public health, safety, or welfare, or otherwise injure any public rights. Two, in granting this variance in the spirit of the ordinance.
Actually, you give us a second.
Yeah.
to
Oh,
each
sure,
one
sure,
in case
yeah.
there's any
That's
questions.
okay.
Absolutely.
I absolutely appreciate just, yeah, so you went through one. So this is gonna sit on the left side of the property.
It's
On this picture?
straight even with the driveway. When you drive in the driveway, it will be straight ahead right there.
Okay.
But yes, the left side.
All right. Any questions from the board? All right, please continue to 2.
Two, in granting this variance in the spirit of the ordinance, it will be observed, it will not alter the essential characteristics of the neighborhood, again, threaten any public health, safety, or welfare, or otherwise injure any public rights.
Any questions from the board? All right, number 3.
Three, granting this variance will not in any way harm the general public.
Okay. Any questions from the board?
This is detached, correct?
Correct. Yep. I believe that you did have the plans, I submitted the
Yep.
plans.
Yeah, that's what we were
I was
looking
just
at.
Yep.
clarifying.
Yep.
Thank you.
Was there a reason why you've chosen, just out of curiosity, a detached setup? Since that's going to sit.
It's the way I talk about it in 5. So behind the house is our leach field and everything. And there's we would have to move the leach field and things like that to be able to move it, to be able to attach it, to do any attachment.
Oh, I see. Okay.
It's a split level house.
I see what you're saying. So if it were attached, you'd have to move the leach field.
Yeah, we'd have to move the septic tank, leach field, all the piping and things like that from the back.
Okay. Go for it.
Is there any structure on this side of the property?
There's a small shed that's there on the left side of the driveway.
Yeah, that would help. So my question was, thank you. There's no structure here underneath these trees on the right side of the property of the abutting neighbor,
Oh, there is no structures there, no.
like in this area here.
Correct, there's nothing.
There's no pool or
nothing.
anything, or
No. There's probably
Patio.
50 to 70 feet of woods between the two.
okay, no patio, no deck, nothing.
Nothing.
Thank you.
All right. Number 4.
4, granting this variance will not diminish the value of the surrounding properties, as many of the surrounding properties have additional garages and structures along their property. It would also allow the property owners to store and remove vehicles from the open driveway parking area.
Okay. I guess the only question I have with this is, since you're encroaching your sideline, have you spoken to your neighbor?
I have,
about it?
yes.
Okay.
Yeah, I had no problem at all.
All right. Excellent. Thank you. Any other questions from the board? All right. And on to number 5.
5, due to the physical characteristics of the property, obviously trying to move it over. Technically, we were 19.8 off the property line, the way the plans fit. Obviously wanted a variance to make sure we were over that 20, just because we weren't quite at that 20-foot mark. In moving it in not having it moved to where it is, we would have to move the leach field, things of that nature, to be able to move it to the right more to be within that 20 feet ordinance that's currently there.
Okay, so when you say 7 feet from the sideline, you're not certain that that's where it's going to be built. You're saying up to 7 feet.
It won't even come close to that 7 feet. Literally, it will be probably 12 feet from that property line. I just wanted to make sure that we had more in case there was anything that happened within the construction thing that I didn't have to come back and say, okay, I need another 2 feet.
Okay.
If they came up with ledge that would require blasting to put in the foundation, they want to be able to move it to the edge where there's no ledge, right?
Correct, yes. If anything came up during the digging or anything for the foundation, I wanted to make sure we would be able to still put it there.
And not have to come back here.
Right. The only kind of question I have is this has nothing to do with this. I thought Robert Price was very specific about making sure that the dimensions are accurate before we discuss these. So I wasn't sure did he have any commentary, Colleen?
I don't think so. We were told that it was going to be 7 feet, so that's what we went with.
Okay.
We don't have a plot plan to signify that, or at least I don't believe we have a plot plan.
I did submit one, but I know you don't. I can show you it if you want to look at it real
Oh,
quick.
I'm okay with this.
Okay.
My comment was more that I'm surprised that in the past the community development office has wanted a more concrete dimension before they would provide this information to us. So I'm if they're okay with it, I'm okay with it.
Okay.
That's all.
Okay.
Any other questions from the board? All right. So I'll go ahead and open the public now. Is there anyone looking to speak in favor of this petition? Is there anyone looking to speak against this petition? All right, I'll go ahead and close the public. And do I hear a motion?
I make a motion that the board finds the petitioner's responses to the statutory criteria are sufficient, proved each criterion is met, and the board adopts the petitioner's responses as the board's finding of fact, and further to grant the variance under section 3.02 to permit construction of two-car garage 7 feet from the sideline, whereas 20 feet is required.
Second.
All right. Motion made by Lynn, seconded by Patrick. All in favor?
Aye.
All right. 5-0-0. So just so you're aware, there is still a 30-day window.
Okay.
But
Don't start building yet.
yeah,
Is it okay to actually submit my building permit? I know I have to wait till this. I can do
yeah,
that. Okay.
absolutely.
Perfect. Excellent. Thank you.
Thank
All
you.
right. Thank you.
No, we're not gonna hit the record, but it'll be better than most.
Take care. All right. And number 4, Fieldstone Land Consultants, PLC, and Doherty Zabolis LLC, owner, variance under section 2.02.3, B of the zoning ordinance to permit a warehouse or warehousing use in the C2 General Commercial District. Parcels located at 101 Herrick Street in the C2 General Commercial, I-1 Industrial, and Aquifer Conservation Districts, tax map 3-2, lot 20, case ZBA 2023-30. Good evening. Good evening. And if you want, you can grab the microphone in the back.
Oh,
That way you don't have to be pinned to the desk.
good. I'm just gonna pass these out. This is just a copy of the plan here. I do have a PDF.
So,
We're not.
No, we can't take them.
We can't take them. We
Yeah.
don't accept anything.
sorry, and
All right, it's the same as this. then.
Okay, that's, we can see.
Okay. Testing. Oh, yeah. Okay, for the record, my name is Chris Gaida, and I'm with Fieldstone Land Consultants and working with Joyce Cooling and Heating on this variance request. There's 2 tonight. Most of you are likely familiar with this property. It was previously permitted, 100% permitted for the MyBox property. That was a much larger building. This is a copy of it here. There was a special exception for wetlands impact. All that wetlands remains the same. This building obviously was much larger. They decided to stay at their existing facility, I believe on Continental Drive, and sell this property to Joyce Cooling and Heating, who looking to move their business from Nashua to Merrimack here. If it's okay with the board, I'll just start with the first one. I guess there's two, they kind of go together.
Okay.
I'll go with the first general overview. It's for a warehousing use. Again, the MyBox property that was previously approved was also approved as a warehousing use. This is proposed to be a cooling, plumbing, heating, with an office space and a retail aspect to it in the front of the building, and warehouse space at the rear of the building. This property has very steep slopes right off of the highway, and then it flattens out. And basically this wetland area is created by drainage coming off of Daniel Webster Highway into here. So all this drainage, all this infrastructure that was previously approved is remaining the same. It was designed initially for a much larger facility. It meets all the other requirements. This will be obviously going to the planning board as well for site plan approval. But the warehousing use is basically the one, the first variance that we're requesting is to allow that because it is a different use other than the MyBox. That will be accessed for trucks and facilities basically coming through Herrick driveway. This is also has a little bit of a unique feature where it's split. There's this line right here is the industrial zone is this side and the general commercial this side. So the access point for the warehouse use is also happens to be in the industrial zone. And I believe that is a warehousing is a permitted use by right in that zone. It's obviously physically not located there, but it makes sense that that goes as an accessory use with the plumbing and heating facility up front and office space. I'm on a roll, so I'll just give the general.
If we could move to the variance request itself, you just read basically each point and then say it after it. So that way, if we have questions, we could.
I have a quick question.
Oh, sure.
If you don't mind. So am I seeing that correctly? There's a driveway. You're gonna what's exiting onto Herrick?
So right now there would be a driveway right here onto Herrick. There's nothing now. This would allow basically this is steep. It comes down here, so this is basic. Let me get to the.
But who would be using that driveway?
This facility, but it would mostly be employees and delivery vehicles.
And the all the trucks from Joyce Heating and Cooling.
Correct.
Okay. Thanks.
Yep. This access. We're still pending for a DOT driveway permit here. That would obviously be a conditional, aspect to get that DOT permit, but we have early indications that they don't have an issue with the site distance or the safety, and that they allowed a permit here on this lot. This would basically be for retail customers, a display area, that sort of thing.
Okay. Thank you.
Sorry, I'll go through the criteria. So number one, granting the variance would not be contrary to the public interest because the basic zoning objective of the general commercial district is to serve as a regional and or local shopping and service need. Joyce Cooling and Heating, an installation sales and service company, intends to relocate their headquarters from Nashua to Merrimack on this property. The proposed warehousing of this property complies with the objective as an accessory use to the heating and cooling service business that is proposed as the primary use of the property. The proposed warehouse area of the structure would be accessed via Herrick Street and the portion of the property located in the industrial district where this use is permitted by right. Granting this variance would allow for the full and productive use of the existing property and nearby infrastructure. The zoning ordinances are generally written to manage the development in towns and allow for responsible and reasonable development and expansion. Considering that the proposed development will enhance the visual appearance from the street, will allow for productive development of a lot in the general commercial district, and will be consistent with the surrounding properties, we believe this proposal is reasonable. It is our opinion that this project will substantially improve the aesthetics of the subject parcel and the surroundings, and the investment will add value to the tax base and employment opportunities in the community with very little municipal services in return. Due to the above reasons and the fact that this proposal will not alter the essential character of the neighborhood or threaten the health, safety, or general welfare of the public, we believe that this proposal would not be contrary to the public interest.
All right, thank you. Any questions from the board? All right, please continue.
Okay. Number two, granting the variance would observe the spirit of the ordinance because granting the proposed variance is consistent with the purpose and intent of the zoning ordinance to promote the health, safety, convenience, and general welfare of the town of Merrimack and to make it an attractive place in which to live. Granting the proposed variance for a warehouse use would allow a business to locate its headquarters on this property, providing an attractive development and providing employment opportunities.
All right, any questions? All right, please continue.
Three, substantial justice is done by granting the proposed variance because granting the proposed variance for a warehousing use would allow the property owner to fully develop their property and provide much-needed employment opportunities for the community. The public would realize no appreciable gain from denying this variance request. And granting this variance would do substantial justice because it would allow for the productive use of the property as described above, while providing responsible growth in the community.
Yeah, actually, I think I remember the My Box variance that we did for this, so you can feel free to just read through it all.
Okay. 4, granting the variance would not diminish the value of the surrounding properties because the surrounding properties are a mix of commercial uses. In our opinion, this proposal would improve the property and associated values in local tax base, which ultimately means it will have a positive impact on the community. It has also been our experience that new construction and development will oftentimes increase the value of surrounding properties. This use will be compatible with the surrounding uses and will enhance the area.
Actually, can I? Sure. I'll jump in. I have issue with 3 and 4, substantial justice and diminished property values. At the top of the hill, they had just built condos, or there's an apartment complex up at the top of the hill. Plus, there's more homes up at the top of Herrick. Trying to now you're going to put a driveway that's going to go onto Herrick. So you're going to have people who in the morning are going to be going to work coming down Herrick. You're going to have trucks coming out of Joyce that are going to be going to whatever service calls. Plus you have delivery trucks coming up, and without a light at the bottom of the hill with Herrick and Daniel Webster, that you're going to create a headache. You're going to create a headache for all the people living up that hill there. I don't think you're doing substantial justice for them. And anybody, and we already know that the Daniel Webster Highway is already a busy highway in the morning. You got trucks trying to make a left-hand turn out of there. I mean, coming down and making a right, sure, but you come down and trying to make a left, you're gonna back traffic up something fierce, and you're gonna have delivery vehicles coming up that road and then coming there. You're going to create a bottleneck at the bottom of Herrick and Daniel Webster.
Patrick, if
Even
I
more so.
may.
Yes.
Sorry to, I believe you're thinking of the wrong location. Herrick Street is located across from Citizens Bank,
Okay.
so not near the apartments. I think.
All right. So
So
I'm
Herrick
thinking
Street, I believe Colt Refining's back there or
Scratch
something
what
like
I said
that.
then. Okay. I apologize. I'm in the wrong part of Merrimack.
So
stand
sorry to
corrected.
let you go on a
Sorry.
tangent, but
No, I agree. All right. I was okay. Never mind. Sorry.
So number 5, unnecessary hardship owing to special conditions of the property that distinguish it from other properties in the area. Denial of the variance would result in unnecessary hardship because 1, no fair and substantial relationship exists between the general public purpose of the ordinance, the provision, and the specific application of that provision to the property because the subject property has special conditions that distinguish it from other properties in the area. The property has a 28-foot drop in elevation from the adjacent highway, and the existing drainage from the highway and wetland areas caused by highway drainage, which limit the developable area. We believe the intent of the provision of the ordinance is to promote economic growth in the district and to provide employment opportunities to residents. The warehousing use is an accessory to the office use of this property. We do not believe that this development will have a negative impact on the general public. Based on the reasons stated above, we do not believe that a fair and substantial relationship exists between the general public purpose of the ordinance provision and a specific application of that provision to the property. A denial of this variance would result in unnecessary hardship as it would not allow for the productive use of the property, basically given its inherent topography with the steep slopes off of Daniel Webster Highway, as well as the wetlands in the back. And beyond this property is also more extensive wetlands. So it kind of limits the use on this particular lot. The property has been undeveloped basically due to these special conditions of the property that distinguish it from others in the area. The proposed use is a good fit with the property, which is why we're requesting that the board grant this variance.
The property already exists though, doesn't it?
The land exists, yeah,
Oh, I'm
but
sorry. I thought the building already existed.
No,
yeah, no,
Okay.
it's vacant.
Quick question for you.
Sure.
I know on the other side of Herrick, that project, they had a DOT easement that's given them some trouble. Do you have any sort of, I know you mentioned the water coming off of Daniel Webster Highway. Is there any issues with that?
Not that I'm aware of with DOT. I mean, these are obviously their culvert. There's a culvert right here and a culvert right here, which right now discharge up here high and basically just run in a road, this slope down to here, and this basically fill into this wetland. Same thing happens here. So part of this drainage, I know these are all planning board issues, but it's important to mention that this is going to be basically culverted so that all this stormwater drainage off Daniel Webster Highway doesn't continue it to a road. It basically gets put down into here where it's going to be discharged. Same thing over here, so that all the water from the site is going to be managed and run into these basins here, these sediment basins, and then infiltrated into here. So again, as far as specific DOT permits, I know that that is pending, and that's going to be an issue. Obviously, they're pretty stringent when it comes to safety as far as access. So.
I have a question, please.
Oh, yeah.
And I know this is maybe not directly related to the zoning itself, but what kind of delivery trucks do you expect there? Is it more box trucks or is it also 18 wheels?
I don't know the specific vehicles that they have, but just in general, a plumbing, supply, service, air conditioning, generally they're smaller types of box trucks, large vans, like Sprinter vans. I would suspect that there would be some tractor trailers, which is kind of one of the reasons why I guess I'll get to that in the next variance as far as the setup of the site and the design with the access to the rear of the property to allow for adequate turning areas.
Okay. Thank you.
All right. Any further questions from the board? All right. Well, we'll go ahead and open up the public portion. Is there anyone that would like to speak in favor or against this petition? Don't everybody raise your hands at once. All right, I'll go ahead and close the public. Do I hear a motion? Yeah. Okay. There is a section.
page 4 of 7.
got it.
Yeah, okay.
No.
So I'll make the motion that the board finds the petitions. Microphone would help. Let's try this again. I make a motion that the board finds the petitioner's responses to the statutory criteria are sufficient, proved each criterion is met, and the board adopts the petitioner's responses as the board's findings of fact, and further to grant the variance under section 2.02.3 parenthesis B of the zoning ordinance to permit the warehousing use in the C2 general commercial district, subject to the following condition. The petitioner shall obtain the variance associated with ZBA case number 2023-31. And also the petitioner shall obtain site plan approval from the planning board for the proposed warehouse and office building.
Second.
All right. Motion made by Wolfram, seconded by Brian. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. All right. 5-0-0. Motion passes. And then moving on to the next, which is the Fieldstone Land Consultants PLC petitioner and Doherty Zabolis LLC owner. Variance under section 3.02 note 6 of the zoning ordinance to permit the drive aisle portion of a parking area to be 10 feet from Daniel Webster Highway, whereas 20 feet is required. Same location. Case ZBA 2023-31. And I guess my only question is, since you've pretty much explained to us what you're doing, where is this?
Thank you. So that's this area right here. We initially had a 20-foot area as far as the turnaround for retail customer turning. The fire department did review this, and they requested a 24-foot turning aisle, which is basically just as you come out of the parking space, this area here. So we're requesting, I believe it's 10 feet from the property line to the turning aisle or the pavement. This area here, the 10 feet in here is all, there's a landscape proposal as well to basically, just improve the aesthetics of the building, which would have been done anyway, even if we had a 20-foot area there. But this setback, if you will, is similar to a lot of the other properties on Daniel Webster Highway. I think the bank even here, right here, their pavement is basically right up to the property line, and several other properties over here are encroaching as well. So it's pretty similar use. Again, given the steep topography right here and down there, the building was positioned so that we could allow for this and also allow for, again, a turning radius back here for delivery vehicles to have enough room to negotiate and get back out onto Herrick.
Okay, so the purpose of being closer to the setback or encroaching in the setback isn't actually for parking spaces, it's to create room for people to back out of parking spots.
Correct.
Okay.
Also, as far as this building, the way it's set up, it's basically going to look like a single story from Daniel Webster, and then it drops off. Topography drops off so that there'll be 2 stories in the back, but you're not going to see that. This lends itself to the topography here, so that the building is built into the slope and essentially a walkout in the back, which helps to minimize the amount of fill necessary to basically get a building. If we weren't allowed that and we had to move the building back even farther, again, we would be restricting the ability to turn larger vehicles around in here. It would also add significant fill requirements along the slopes in the building. So this layout pretty much works best as far as capturing runoff from the site and treating it with the conditions that we have.
So I guess my question to the board at this point is, do you feel comfortable that the variance criteria from the first variance is sufficient for this?
I do.
Okay. So
That would be great if I didn't have to.
save you some reading.
I actually do have a question, if you don't mind.
Sure.
So we're pretty close with those parked vehicles to the flowing traffic of Daniel Webster, right? Highway. Is there any concern with, is there going to be any kind of barriers or something like that to,
Well, yeah, I mean, basically this drops down at like 2% here. There's obviously a restricted access here. So there's only one entryway here.
right?
So there's a small swale here for treatment to pick up water off of the parking. This will be planted with landscape trees. There's a landscape plan too that I'm sure will be, looked at a little bit closer with the planning board. So this is not going to be people are not going to be able to drive out here.
Right, but there's not going to be any kind of,
Barrier?
walls. Well, concrete, structures or something that somehow protect that building and the people inside of it.
Oh, you
From the
mean
flow
from
of
people
traffic.
driving into it, or
There's an intersection, right? So
what's that?
there's an intersection, right? So you never know, if something were to happen where people end up driving.
But yeah,
So
that's,
not
I mean,
something-
that's a valid point. Not that I'm aware of, but it certainly is something to think about. I know commonly they're, like at gas stations, they'll have bollards and things
Right.
like that around
Exactly.
the pumps. Yeah, I mean, something like that, I'm sure I've seen a lot of like really nice decorative big concrete planters or something that would serve the similar purpose. That certainly might be something good to look into that I can mention to the engineers about, but I don't know of any right now.
But that would be an easy add to the landscaping plan.
I think so, yeah.
Yeah. I mean, you're cutting your safety margin in half, right? So,
Yeah.
And this is not a slow area, right, of Denny Webster Highway.
Right.
So it might be worth considering.
Yeah, if someone comes screaming in or something. Yeah, we've all seen it, right? Different places, so it's well taken.
There's a few restaurants around that can tell you about this.
Yeah.
Just recently, yeah. Thank you.
Yeah.
All right, any further questions from the board? All right, I'll go ahead and open this to the public. Is there anyone looking to speak either in favor or against this petition? There, now I can say I did my due diligence. I'll go ahead and close that. Do I hear a motion?
I make a motion that the board finds the petitioner's response to the statutory criteria are sufficient, provided each criteria is met and the board adopts the petitioner's responses as the board's findings of fact, and further grant the variance under section 3.02 note 6 of the zoning ordinance to permit the drive aisle portion of the parking lot area to be 10 feet from Daniel Webster Highway, whereas 20 feet is required subject to the following criteria. The petitioner shall obtain site plan approval from the planning board for the proposed warehouse/office building.
Do I hear?
I'll second.
All right, motion made by Brian, seconded by Lynn. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. All right, 5-0-0.
Thank you.
Motion passes. Thank you and good luck.
Yeah, thank you very much.
All right, so before we do the discussion over the meeting minutes, I just wanted to kind of quickly touch upon what I wasn't really going to go into any detail with the rehearing request. This is the first time we've had a rehearing request where the applicant, their opinion is that we did not follow our process. Usually it's because there's new information to be provided. I personally don't think there's going to be a change in outcome by rehearing this, but just because of the fact that they have a concern with the way I conducted the hearing, I think it made sense, perfect sense to grant them the rehearing. The only downside, and I do apologize for this, is that the John Flatley Company is now going to have to come back out. Unfortunately, I think that, I don't think that the outcome that the applicant's looking for is going to happen. But their point is their point.
Their point is their point, and it's reasonable to do this.
Yeah.
And I'm sure Flatley is perfectly happy to do it just to take away any question.
Absolutely. But like I said, this will be a condensed meeting, and that's not just for the petitioner. That's also for the abutters.
Yep.
We can't go down a rabbit hole over a sign. And just so you guys know, and I'm not really going to go into details of the case now, but I have visited the site, and I'm not even sure that I was right in the way that I voted after looking at the details. So, who knows? Maybe the outcome might be different. Anyway,
We're going to do it anyway.
Yeah.
Because we should.
so the minutes, Patrick?
So there's a couple of things that need to be corrected on the minutes. Page 2, line 42, the board actually did not vote 5-0-0 in favor of the petition. The vote was 3-2-0-0 with Rich and myself voting in the no. All right. And then on page 7, Rich, page 7, line 47, it was Rich and I that voted in opposition, not Ben.
I move we approve as corrected.
I second that.
All right. All in favor?
Aye.
Right. All oppose? All abstain? All right. 4-0-1.
I move we adjourn.
Second.
So, all right. All in favor?
Aye.
All right. Thank you, everyone.
And we're early enough, we can adjourn.